Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Della Amelia, but you can call me Della. Here I will explain you about survey. Survey research is defined as the process of conducting research using surveys that researchers send to the survey respondents. The data collected from surveys is then statistically analyzed to draw meaningful research conclusion. The other definition of survey research is a quantitative method for collecting information from a pool of respondents by asking multiple survey questions. And the advantage of survey is the first is low cost and highly versatile. The secondly allows you to collect feedback, which can be used to track change over time. And the third is access to large amounts of data in short time. And the fourth, easy to interpret and administer. The fifth, familiar format for employees that ensures anonymity. So the disadvantage of survey is participation rate could be low, so invalid or non-response answer to questions may need to be conducted across online and paper platforms. Participants may misunderstand questions like the richness and detail of other methods of collections. And also, there are three main survey research methods divided based on the medium of conducting survey research. The first is online or mail. The second is phone. The third is face-to-face. So, further, based on the time taken, survey research can be classified into two methods. The first is longitudinal survey research, and the second is cross-sectional survey research. Longitudinal survey research involves conducting survey research over a continuum of time and spread across years and decades. And secondly, cross-sectional survey research, that is a longitudinal study is a cross-sectional study, while longitudinal study repeatedly observe the time participants over a period of time. Cross-sectional studies examine different samples or cross-sections of the population at one point in the time. So, to do survey research is first determine who will participate in the survey. Secondly, decide the type of survey, for example, mail, online, or in person, like is questionnaire or interview. So the third, design the survey questions and lay it. The fourth, distribute the survey. The fifth, analyze the responses. And the last, write up the result. And next, correlational research design is a type of research that tries to investigate, find possible relationship between variables without any attempts to influence those variables, and you don't manipulate any variables or randomly assigns participants to a control or treatment groups. There are three types or characteristics of correlational research, which are positive correlational research, negative correlational research, and no correlational research. The first is positive correlational research, means a research method involving two variables that are statistically corresponding, where an increase or decrease in one variable creates a like change in the other. So an example is when an increase in workers, so remunerations results in an increase in the price of goods and service. The secondly is negative correlational research, mean research method involving two variables that are statistically opposite, where an increase in one of the variables creates an alternate effect or decrease in the other variable. An example of a negative correlation is if the rise in goods and service costs decrease in demand. So the third is zero correlational research is a type of correlational research that involves two variables not necessarily statistically connected. So in this case, a change in one of the variables may not trigger a corresponding or alternate change in the other variable. Steps in correlational research: first, first you can determine the problem. The second, do the literature study. So the third, determine the research methodology. The fourth, collecting data. So the fifth, do data analysis. And then the last, make a conclusion. So here there is ex post facto. Ex post facto research is a method that is widely used and useful for researcher because it provides a lot of valuable information for this decisions making in the field of education. The term of ex post facto indicates that a change in the independent variable has occurred and the researcher is faced with the problem of how to determine the cause and effect that being on observed. So, ex post facto research examines cause and effect relationship are not manipulated or treated by the researcher. And here, the ex post facto researcher has certain characteristics which distinguishes it from other different type of research. One is the research has a control or a comparison group, as the researcher is done on the basis of the study of the cause which has already led to its effect. It becomes necessary for the researcher to keep a control group which can be used for comparison with the actual experimental group later on. In order to analyze the cause of an already occurrence event, the researcher cannot manipulate or change the already occurred actions or behavior. So secondly, the researcher focus on the effect, since the researcher tries to analyze then and predict the reason behind the occurrence of an event or phenomena. Their first datum is to focus on the event or the phenomena that has already occurred. The third or the last, the researcher tries to analyze the how and what as the aspect of an event, since researcher tries to understand the causal effect behind the phenomena. The researchers basically focus on how and what reasons that has led that phenomena to occur. And here, steps of ex post facto research. The first, determining the problem. The secondly, do the literature review. The third, do more formulations of hypothesis. The fourth, designing the approach. The fifth, validity of the researcher. The last and the sixth, and interpretations of the conclusions. That's all enough for me. Thank you so much for your kind attention. That's all enough for me. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.